Welcome back to another shift here at the intensive car unit. On this shift, we're going to be doing the back table work, as we say in the operating room, or getting the Maserati engine prepared to actually put it into the Scion. Now, when we're doing the back table work, we're removing some of the accessories like the starter, the dry sump systems, and stuff like that, so we can get a better idea on what's actually going to happen when we put the engine in and if we can actually pull this swap off. So enough of the chit chat. Let's get this transplant in the process of actually getting some work done. What do you say?
Now that we've got the engine out of its corner because we're starting to get to that point to work on it, I need to show you some of the restraints that I've got. First and foremost, let's go down here and look all the way through the underbody. One key thing you will notice is right over here is the steering shaft. Steering rack is right here, and then steering shaft is right here. This comes from the steering wheel down to the shaft, and this is what turns my wheels. Here's the struggle. You come back over here, and let's look at it from the back side. The exhaust manifold on the passenger side is right there. Right there's where it dumps out at. Which means if I tried to use the factory manifolds, they would be dumping out on the steering shaft. That is super bad. Can't have that. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna pull the exhaust manifolds off both sides, and then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to try flipping these. Now the struggle with that is now the factory engine mount isn't going to work. So then I'm going to build something like this to move that back to get this out of the way, because these cannot be flipped because of the way that they're designed. So I've got a little bit of work ahead of me, but honestly, shouldn't be too bad. First steps first, I'm going to get these exhaust mounts or the catalytic converters off of this thing, because I'm going to have to do a completely different design for this. Comically enough, the outside ones on each of these collectors have already been unbolted. So someone's been in here before at some point in time, didn't have the effort to put these on. Let's go ahead, let's get these pulled off, get the cats out of the way, and then start looking at our exhaust manifolds to get those to see if we can flip them, because I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to have to do. Just got the exhaust manifolds off both sides, and you can see this thing's got some miles on it, but that's okay. It's just going to get beat on some more. Here's the opposite side's exhaust manifold. We're just going to lightly place it in, and you'll notice we are definitely making contact here, which, I mean, let's be honest, we knew that was going to happen. So this guy gets to come off. I get to pull this guy off, so then I can start drawing up something to work in its place, because I don't think that this is going to work on the opposing side. So let's get to work on that. Okay, so before I can get access to this lower bolt down here to get the engine mount off, I gotta get the starter off. And comically enough, the starter's held on by bolts that go through the bell housing or the clutch cover. And it looks like they're kind of held in place over here among some other spots. So I get the fun now of going ahead and disconnecting this guy to get it out of the way so I can get access to remove this. On the other side, I'm going to have to pull the oil pump, coolant pump, all that stuff to get access to the other side to remove it as well. So let's go ahead and get to work. So one of the main reasons why I chose this specific engine is for this system right here. This is the dry sump oil scabbing system. And then over here is the water pump. One of the downsides of this over a wet sump is this big hole appendage that's on the side of it. If this was a wet sump engine, the oil pan would be down here. It would be a little bit more difficult for packaging side of things, but overall, this will work better for me. Getting the engine as low as possible and not having to fight with an oil pan or a different oil pickup. The downside is I can't get access to these lower bolts down here to pull this engine mount off to then flip it to the other side without pulling this scavenge system oil pump water pump assembly off. So that's what we're doing next. Correction. There are bolts all the way, I don't know if you can see it, in there that I have no access to out here. So I gotta figure out how I'm gonna break this guy loose. What I think I'm gonna have to do is disconnect this entire assembly right there, those three nuts, to then disassemble this to get access to this bolt and then this one, so on and so forth. So that's what I'm going to try next. So you just watched me try to pull apart the dry sump so I could get access to a couple of those bolts to remove the engine mount, because I got to pull the engine mount off the flip sides so I can flip the exhaust manifolds to see if I can even use any of that stuff. Well, as you saw, it didn't work. I then went and got one of these guys, which is a half moon box end wrench, and it also doesn't fit. So I looked at the factory service manual and it says, quote, use a special wrench. Really? You don't say. A special wrench. Doesn't give me any part numbers, doesn't give me any ideas or anything to work with. And it's one of those things where it's it's awkward enough that most people don't even bother pulling these off very often. So I need to, quote, figure out how to use a special wrench. My game plan is to cut this guy down and round out the sides of it just to make it a little bit smaller so it'll fit in. So that's what I'm going to do next to see if I can get this thing off. To flip the
to flip the engine mounts so I can then flip the exhaust manifolds to see what I have to actually work with. So here we go.
Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby, and twist myself at the spine. Don't wanna overthink it, baby. It's just twist your body and mine. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, but I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Let's not get ahead of my time. Oh, but I don't wanna miss you, baby. So I stand up and speak just my mind. Oh. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're chilling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're channeling wind and rain.
All right, now that that's all said and done, we were able to remove the dry sump system and the engine mount from the other side with a pretty questionable contraption. Now we get the fun of trying this on this side and vice versa to see if I can get the exhaust manifolds to reverse mount to clear the steering box. So let's go ahead and get that side, or let's go ahead and test this theory out.
You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, 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 oh,
Engine is free hanging, factory mounts flipped, factory exhaust flipped. You can see it lines up with our subframe right there. So I'm going to take measurements off of this guy to figure out where I want to place the one that I'm building onto this lower subframe. But you can see just a hair worth of space in between on the back side. That'll all be filled in by the clutch housing. Pretty tight over here on this side. It's actually almost touching. It is touching actually for the brake booster. So I will clean the face of that location up. The downside is I don't know how much space I have to pull things off, like to do basic maintenance like valve cover gaskets without having to pull the engine, but I will totally get to that point. Now, let's look underneath and you guys can see, I think, hold on. Right there, I'll probably have to knock those two mounts off so I can get the engine lower, but once I get those bolts out, it'll drop down a decent amount and give me even more clearance to work with. So just to show you, this thing's gonna fit. You know, it's pretty frustrating whenever you're working on a vehicle and you don't have access to what you need to take one part off. And it's usually just one bolt. That was definitely the case here on the F-136 from the Maserati, where those two bolts on the passenger side of the engine, or the dry sump side of the oiling system, were in the way. Had to get a little creative, bought some cheap tools, cut them down, made them work. Was able to flip everything around to see if it would actually work the way we wanted to, and gave us an idea what to work with. We were able to then get the engine placed into the car as a quick test fit to get us an idea on what we're going to have to do to actually mount this engine. Super exciting stuff. I'm actually seeing some light, not just drowning on like, well, I got to design this part now, I got to design that part now. But I'm just rambling at this point. We've had a really successful episode. Got a long way to go still, but at that point, we're kind of running out of time, and I just want to let you guys go with, as always, please stay safe.